it honestly feels like school, it really does just try to prepare you to go work for somebody. In the sense, okay, when you get a job, you're gonna be sitting down 8 hours a day. So you gotta know how to do this for 8 hours for however many years we're in school, and then you're gonna do that for 40, 50 years. And that's what it feels like when you take a step
There's
back.
there's a
This
school.
video will be sponsored by SNHU. So it's 2025 and cybersecurity is still all the rage. Breaches are at an all-time high, and so are cyber salaries. But there's a problem you keep running into. Cyber jobs you want to land are requiring a degree and you don't have one. Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University, SNHU. SNHU has a flexible online program that also touts one of the lowest tuitions in the country. SNHU is an affordable, accredited nonprofit university that has dedicated career advisors, webinars, internships, and wants to prepare you to enter or advance in the workforce. There's a 32% projected growth of information security analyst roles through 2032, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median security analyst salary in 2023 was $120,000. In SNHU's program, you can learn about these critical subjects: cybersecurity foundations, networking, incident response, risk management, enterprise security, and more. As a cybersecurity professional, these are all important courses. If you would like to know more about SNHU's program, then please visit snhu.edu/textual or click the link below in the description. On social media, the last week or so, the discourse has been around Black men and the literacy gap that they have of either higher education or not going to school. And I know also with you working at HR, you probably even seen this more oftentimes than not when it comes to having degrees or not having degrees or different things that they may struggle with. And I've actually did like my own TikTok video, and I'm not like the TikToker, but I do chime in on some of these things sometimes. And there's a lot of different, I just say it's a lot of interesting commentary when it comes to this topic. I will say that. But I will ask you from your expertise, why do you think that we are not seeing a lot of Black men go? And we also, when we say higher education, we also are including trade school in this too, because a lot of people think that, oh, we can go get a trade. I was like, technically, you still got to go somewhere after high school and learn some more. So we are including this. The first thing that a lot of the guys want to say on my videos, loans or whatever, and I'm like, there's a way to get a cheaper degree and not have a lot of student debt. So I was like, I really don't want to hear that excuse. So I wanted to see what your take might be on that.
So the first thing I want to talk about is the trade versus the degree. One, I actually think this is my futuristic hat. I actually think we're going to see the pendulum shift away from standard 4-year degrees and over to trades. Everything that's happening, I think some of the highest paid people are about to be people out here driving a forklift, a truck, or whatever. One, because there's now a demand for that work, and two, I expect some manufacturing will come back to the States, and you're going to need welders and all these other things, right? So go get a trade. I don't want to say it's easier. It's a different kind of thinking for those who can do that. But for the degrees piece, I think here's what happens. One, I don't believe, and this might be really, I'm going to just say this out loud. The American education system was not built for us. It just wasn't. And I believe that the way that we learn, especially our brown boys, I think that there's a disservice, a gap, a lack of compassion, and all of that. I feel like there's something to be done in the space of how we teach our kids. That's my perspective, especially raising a young Black boy. When he was younger, it was like, oh, he's so cute. Now that he's older, he's bigger. There's a tone and tenor and a lot of microaggressions that shift in the conversation around how he behaves. And I believe that the support system around Black men, and I will also say men in general, because the Wall Street Journal it was either Journal or New York Times. Somebody had an article about how more women are getting degrees and less men, right? And there are more women marrying now, what they're calling marrying down, so that women will marry men who have less education than them, but white man won't do the same, or even Black man won't do the same. So there's this interesting gap. I believe that a lot of us don't know how to utilize and leverage the systems to get the kinds of things that we want. I'd also argue that, are we taught to want the right thing, right? We are taught to grow up, get good grades, and get a good job. Grow up, get good grades, and get a good job to make money. But we're not taught to figure out what's your purpose? What do you do? How can you make money? And I think that's why you see a lot of us who've been in this corporate space say, okay, we got to the echelon, we made it to the mountaintop, and there's nothing here. So, what do we do instead of this? What do we do that's going to really fulfill our soul, fill our cups, make us not just happy, but be on and in purpose? And so I think for me, part of the systematic issues is not only around the education system and the lack of support and the lack of differentiated education. I think there's also just we needing to understand how to navigate these systems more effectively because they weren't built for us.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a
But
controversial perspective, but it's mine. No, no.
surprised you didn't say what a lot of us have said. The foundation starts at the home. If we break down, if we specifically talk about our community, a lot of these boys don't have fathers. A lot of them don't see white collar men on a day to day basis, but who they do see are your athletes, your rappers, your streamers. So they see all these people. So college is not necessarily something pushed on them, or a lot of them don't believe they can. A lot of the parents, if we have homes, we know the average income in America is not high. And if I go Bureau of Labor Statistics for African Americans, it's even lower. So you factor that into with the person probably having like maybe one or two lower paying jobs and the kids raising themselves and just getting skipped on throughout the years, not knowing how to read and how to do all this other stuff. So to them, because I've seen when I went to graduation, I was like, why are y'all so happy somebody graduated high school? Like to me, I was like,
You're
I always,
supposed to.
yeah, I always knew I was
Yep.
gonna. It's like school was never hard for me. Matter of fact, that's the reason why I got in a lot of trouble a lot of time even at a young age. I'm finishing my work super fast, and so now I don't have anything to do. So I'm getting into trouble because I'm either talking too much. I don't have anything to do. Whereas school probably should be different for kids. I don't even think they need 8 hours at school. Honestly, they probably just need 5 to 6. Learn what they need to learn. Let them go play. Boys should actually be playing more than the women. I don't want to make it sexist, but I think that's just how we operate. On lunch shift, the boys are taking their clothes off and they're going in the gym to play basketball. That's what they're doing. The girls are around their friends, they're eating their food, they're talking or whatever. They're not acting the same way the guys do. It's like you can already tell right there that our minds most focus more so on this physical thing more, or just having too much energy.
Yeah.
Just have too much energy and not want to sit down all day, and then and them continually to make you sit down all day. Is I know this stuff, or why do I have to sit down this whole time? And it honestly feels like school. It really does just try to come prepare you to go work for somebody. In the sense, okay, when you get a job, you're gonna be sitting down 8 hours a day, so you got to know how to do this for 8 hours for however many years we're in school, and then you're gonna do that for 40, 50 years. And that's what it feels like when you take a step
There's
back.
there's a school of thought. There's a school of thought about the fact that the Rockefellers and others created these systems to create compliance, to create a controllable workforce. Go do your research. I think that's there's something to be said for that. And that's really what I was leaning into around. I know my kid, neurodiverse or not, I know that if he does not in some way burn off energy, he can't hear you. And for me, and maybe it's not just for black kids, but I know my black kid has a hard time with just sitting down. And so, how do we teach people, how do we teach our kids in the way that they can learn? The systems that we currently have are not the most effective for that. And there's not a lot of wiggle room based on the way that they're created. I want to go back to the whole family situation. So, I am blessed in a couple of different ways. I had a two-parent household, right? I am a part of a two-parent household, and we read to our kids every night. My son's, I don't want it. My daughter's, please read to me. And it's an interesting dynamic. I believe the foundation is important. I like, there's no part of me, but I also understand that's not possible for everybody. I understand that for the single mom who has to work to keep food on the table, that's not. And she trusts the system that she's putting her child in to help with that. I will also say that we're not doing ourselves a service by not letting our kids understand the world that they're in, to help them understand, like, to help them see past the year in front of them, to say, listen, your end goal in this life is this. Like, you need to think about the entire arc of your life, not just this high school or college
Mhm.
or what have you. How do you be intentional in planning
I'm
the
planning
entire
the
life?
entire life. Yeah. No, I agree. And to once we get off the topic, this is the last thing I'll answer that and we'll move on. But now couple that with, I want to say most Americans read on about fourth grade level, just in general. So when you think about you getting mad at that person that's doing customer service or whatever on the phone, once you realize what the problem is, you really can stop being mad and be like, you know what? It's not me, it's them. That's literally like a lot of times when you find out that, or I brought up in my video how, hey, a lot of these kids are pretty much don't know how to do anything. They get frustrated. They don't know how to communicate. The first thing they want to is fight. That's what they understand. That's why you will always see that a lot of times in inner city schools. They're going to fight because, hey, I don't know how to get my point across and you're making me mad. Or a lot of times you would see if another kid showed more ability or more intelligence, at least in kind of like just book sense or just understanding things better, it would make the other people feel small and they would get mad. That's how kids would start getting bullied or stuff just because of they don't know how to say, hey, how do you know all this stuff? How can I like that? To them, it's just, oh, you're trying to make a fool of me or this or that, or verbally abuse me, which some kids do need it because they are actually trying to make a fool of people, knowing that, hey, they're not your intellectual route.
Equal. Yeah.
Equals a better word.
So here's I'll say this. I have been an advocate, and I hope sometime in this life I'll be able to see it. I believe that every kid should start learning both communication and conflict resolution at like pre-K. I
Even
think it
before.
should be a curriculum all the way up until postdoc, because you will always have conflict in life. You will always communicate with someone in life. And so, wouldn't we do ourselves a service, especially in fields like tech, where everybody excuses the fact that the software programmer or the code, they can't, oh, don't worry about him. He's just a little rough around. No, you need to learn how to talk to people. You need to
Yeah,
learn how to express your idea in a way that people can hear you, because that's what makes you effective, especially in this knowledge workspace. It makes no sense to me where we teach all this randomness and half of it you will never use in life. Teach people how to communicate and not just convey information, but teach people how to listen. Teach people how to respectfully disagree. I don't understand it.
I
It's a
couldn't say.
chief frustration.
No, I agree. I agree. All right, now back to the regular schedule program.
Tangents.